Okay, here we are doing an overview video, and since the theme is digging in and digging down into the Word, we do something a little bit more uplifting with the high-mass forklift. So Eric, where do you want to go with this, brother?
Well, we were having the festival of the Moed of Sukkot here for the last week. This is the day we pack up and leave, the day after Shemini Atzeret. Shemini Atzeret, as he said, is another day of non-work and another day of, I believe, the seventh festival is not Sukkot, it's Shemini Atzeret. That's another video that we talked about, but we'll not get into that now. I'm just saying that most people consider Sukkot the seventh festival because Shavuot is split into two, Bikurim and Wave Sheath and all. It's one festival, 50 days of counting, like a pregnancy, conception to birth, which leaves us with Shemini Atzeret, which is the last day of the Moedim cycle, which was yesterday. So today, just as an overview, we talked about the letter Kuf, our letter Q, this letter right here, back of the head, sun on the horizon, that which follows, like the heel of Yaakov, grabbing at the heel. When Yeshua Zadi came back to life from the grave, 40 days later he ascended, and then the Melachim, the angel, said he's coming back. That's a picture of the letter Kuf, ascending, coming back down the same way he ascended. The letter Kuf is a prophetic picture story of Yeshua returning as Resh. So each letter plays from the letter before it and the letter after it. Like this forklift lifting up to a different elevation, that's a picture of the letter Kuf. So there's this interesting matter in the book of Revelation, otherwise known as the Apocalypse. And there's a couple of movies out, Apocalypse, aleph-tau, and what does this mean? It's like, uh-oh, something terrible. The word apocalypse literally means to reveal that which was hidden, or that which was unknown or kind of mystical, foggy. Here, let me clarify. In Hebrew, that word for the apocalypse or revelation is something else, but I can't remember the word offhand, but the word spelled, as we said yesterday, resh aleph-hey, is translated to see, but it also means to put on exhibition or to allow to see, to make perceptible, understandable, to make known. And if you put a yod in front of it, it changes the verb root slightly, but yod is a prefix letter, and it's translated to fear, honor, or revere. Fear the Lord, or it's actually we should revere Yhuh with great reverence and in trepidation. The scriptures even talk about that, about work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, which is to say this is serious matters. If I'm wrong with any of these things I've been saying, I know I will be held accountable before Yahuwah Zavot. One-on-one. This has nothing to do with anybody else. This has nothing to do with the rabbis, the pope, the church. This has nothing to do with anybody except for me and Yahuwah Elohim, my Elohim. And I take as a dire responsibility to make sure that every word I say on one of these videos is absolutely so. And I'm willing and ready to stand in front of him and give account for it.
I wish everybody would take that approach.
There's nothing slipshod, haphazard about any of this. So John, in the book of Revelations chapter 10, twice mentions something about 7 thunders. Well, the word kol, kuf vav lamed, in Hebrew, is in the dictionary says it's the word for thunder or voice. Could be just 7 voices, but it's translated thunder because there's just like this incredible thing. Now John in the book of Revelation, the apocalypse, is being shown, revealed all these matters, and then all of a sudden he gets to these 7 voices. It's like, wow, what are they saying? And he was told, don't write them down. Close them up, keep them hid, which is the opposite of Revelation or apocalypse. It's like, well, why would he do that? He's showing John something. He says, now don't even talk about it. Why? We don't know. But here's the interesting thing. The word thunder or voice is kuf, vav, lamed. This letter kuf is the letter we're talking about, lifting up as an overview, and lamed is the shepherd's staff, and the word lamed means teach and learn, where we get the word talmud or talmudim, disciples. So you could say this is the overview of instructions. Of course, the word kol is kuf, vav, lamed. But as I've said before, the yods and vavs can kind of sort of be dropped in as wild cards, such that if you looked at simply the word spelled kuf lamed, it's where you get lightness, levity, where you put something into a side of the scales to weigh its value. And not only can it mean light, but because it's light, it's like, oh, this is no problem. I can run swiftly with this load. It's easy. It's no big deal. But at the same token, that same word can mean, yeah, it's no big deal. It's just unimportant. It just doesn't matter. It's like, why doesn't some Christian seminaries, universities teach Numbers, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy? Because it's no big deal. Unimportant, light, levity, whatever. In Leviticus 26, Yahweh says, he goes on and on about this. He says, if you consider my words of my mouth, my instructions, my lamed, to be casual indifference, whatever, no big deal, he says, then I will treat you, a mirror aspect amplified, I will treat you with a fury of casual disregard. And then he goes on to list the 5 times, amplifying, getting worse and worse. What's going to happen to his people, which we say, of course, I will multiply by 7. Why by 7? Because 7 is the word to swear a vow. It's shin, bet, ayin, shavav, the root of the word shavuot, counting 7 sevens. All these things tie together if you start studying the Hebrew words and the way they're spelled. So what might, speculation here, what might those 7 voices have said? There's no tip-off. There's no slightest aspect of revealing. However, as we mentioned yesterday, the word for moed, the root of the word is ayin dalet. Mem vav ayin dalet is moed. That's festival. That's these festivals, the appointed times of gathering. The word ayin dalet is the heart of it. And the word ayin dalet means witness and testimony, but it also means, if you look, put a yod at the end, so it's adeh, it's choice best treasure. It's adornment and ornamentation. It's what Yhuh decided to make, build, adorn himself with. He adorned himself in the regalia of the Moedim because they testify of him. And he also called something edot, ayin dalet vav tav, which means my testimonies, or the things that refer to me. So as an overview of this whole matter of what is the message embedded within the aleph-bet, I'm going to guess that those 7 voices have to be synchronous with the same 7 voices that are the Mishkan pattern. Now again, this is speculation. This is not a thus saith the Lord. This is not a Nam Yahweh. But what is a Nam Yahweh, which is to say Nun Aleph Mem, translated the word of, or thus saith the, and then Yod He Vav He, not the Lord, but, and I'm saying thus saith the Lord because that's what people say, but what it says in Hebrew is Nam Yahweh. And when he says Nam Yahweh, it is. So we made up this little sticker. I was going to show it to you yesterday. I don't have it. I have to show you later. Like a signet ring impress into wax. When he says something and presses it in, it is. In the book of Esther, the emperor, the king, made a decree, sealed it, and it's like, you can't revoke it. Well, if earthly kings and important people with things to say can stamp something and so it is, don't you think that Yahweh has that too? Well, what did he say? The alphabetic letters, the aleph-bet, the 22 letters of the aleph-bet, is what he said. As I say, I believe it to be the word of John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word is Elohim, which is to say it expresses particularly because he thought it up, he invented it, inscribed the orthography, the shape of the letters that he wrote with his own finger on the tables of stone, and I believe this is all of his own manufacture regarding the revelation of himself. So I take the Hebrew aleph-bet to be the apocalypse, the revelation of Yahuwah Zavot himself, in his own words, by his own terms, for our regard, fitted to the consciousness, the nephesh, of human beings. So for anybody to say we can't comprehend the Almighty, he's beyond reach, he's beyond fathoming, no, he designed this aleph-bet fit to human consciousness, nephesh, soul, animation, vitality of life, of the spark of sentience. He created human beingness to fit like a hand in a glove with the Hebrew aleph-bet, which is his articulation, manifestation, revelation of himself, fit to us to be, as it were, hand in hand, woven together. The word Sukkot, we just had the festival of Sukkot. Samik, Kaf, Tav is translated the tent. When he said, I will restore the fallen tent of David, that word Sukkot is also translated as the word listening. David is beloved. Dude, or dad, is where we get the word for uncles. You go, hey, yo, dude. That's the same word as David. In the same way that one would listen to the other's voice, then the woven together, like the sukkah, where the branches overlapping, is a picture of David listening to Yahweh's voice, so Yahweh listening to David's voice. So what are those voices? If they're all the same voice, if they have to speak the same thing, because the word ayin vav dalet, as we mentioned yesterday in that other video, means again and again, repeatedly, forcefully, the same thing. And there's this other verse where he says, talking about Cyrus, he says, there is no other Elohim. Aino Zulti. There isn't any other. I am Yahweh. There is no other Elohim. You could say, okay, there's no other gods. That's the word translated Elohim. But Elohim is also power and strength. Aleph, Lamed, Hey, Yod, Mem. And it can also be read as, this is my strength, which I am imparting to you if you walk in my ways. And when he says there is no other Elohim, he's not just saying there's no other gods. He's saying there's nothing else any better I could have given you. But the word ayin is where we get ain't, and that's the word od, ayin vav dalet, which is to say there's no other, but it's, again, repeatedly and forcefully, and zulti, zayin vav lamed tav yod, could be read as, you guys cast it away as if it was garbage and worthless, but Zion is the number 7, and this is the sworn vow. Lamed, Zion Vav, Lamed is the teaching and instruction. Tav, covenant, Yod, my. These are the teachings and instructions of my covenant, which are the set apart, like Zion, like an officer, or ornamented with weapons. And this is the pinnacle. This is the number 7. This is like the Shabbat, like the Ark of the Covenant. This is the pinnacle of all that I could possibly give you. There's no other power. There's no other Elohim. I can't give you anything else. And that you cast it aside and say, doesn't the Holy Spirit have a word from God, word from the Lord that might be better than that crap, garbage stuff that he gave us in the Old Testament? No! There is no other Elohim. Aino Zulti. So what did he give us? Those 7 voices, those 7 thunders cannot disagree with any of the voices that are in the sequence of the 7 days of creation, the voices of the 7 moed of Leviticus 23, the voices of the pattern, the tabanit, of the mishkan, aleph-tav, that's in Exodus 25. It's the same voice of Yeshua when he opened his mouth, Pezadi, pizza, on sitting on the mount and gave us the Beatitudes. The exact same voice. The pattern of 7 to swear a vow, and the curse that you're under if you betray that vow is the voice of those 7 thunders. And so what are they? As a little panoramic overview, we're going to take a look at this hillside as we wander around to the beauty of this location. So what we're going to have to do is overlay or synchronize. What's the first day? We're going to go through 7 here real quick. The 8th would be the kuf. Why do I say that? The 7 pieces are the big white fence of the Mishkan, and then right inside the door, there was a barbecue grill, altar of sacrifice. Then there's a tent set a ways back. Halfway the distance between the barbecue grill and the tent is the laver. So these 3 represent the spring festivals, the spring moed. Pesach, Chag HaMatzot, and Shavuot. Pesach, the big white fence. He said, I've taken you out of Egypt, you now belong to me. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. Exodus 20. Soon as you come into his kingdom, stepping into the fence, here's the instructions of the Torah, the barbecue grill. Start separating, like when you're carving up an animal carcass. Separate the life from the body. Separate the skin from the carcass. Cut it open, take out the entrails, take out the dung, separate the parts of meat. It's all slicing and dicing, which is a picture of what the priest did to the animal on the barbecue grill. That's unleavened bread. Separating leaven from leaven. Like day 2 when he separated water from water, day 1 was separating light from dark, like Pesach. I'm taking you out of Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim translated Egypt is the place between a rock and a hard place. It's narrow straits of constriction, like, oh, I can't even move here. He took them out of that constriction and gave them his Torah. In Ezekiel 20, he says 6 times, I gave them my instructions, which if a man does, he shall live by them, through them, with them, in them, depending on how you translate those Hebrew letters. Yahweh says 6 times in Ezekiel 20, I gave them my words, Nam Yahweh, truth, absolute, dependable, steadfast. Be stalwart about walking in them, guarding, keeping, observing, looking well, that's the word shomer, listening, believing, implementing, that's the word shema, to hear, and a man will live. But he goes on to say, they didn't want my laws, they didn't want my instructions, ordinances, statutes, commandments, testimonies, and I would have torn them apart and made them nothing. But I didn't, this is Yahweh speaking in Ezekiel 20, I didn't want to profane my name. Again, name is also not just how do you say his name, articulate the 4 letters, but it's, the word Shem, name, means also here and there. It's where he's at. Name, fame, renown, reputation. I didn't want to profane or blaspheme or degrade my great reputation in the eyes of the Goyim. The understanding is the other word for ayin. So instead, I called in the Goyim to grab a hold, rip them apart, and scatter them around the world. And it goes on to say, Ezekiel 36, yet they made my name halal, ket lamed lamed, which is translated vile, profane, disgusting, and also pierced, wounded, stabbed unto death, hollow, emptied out to nothingness. He scattered his people across the face of the earth, and they brought his name to nothing, void, and worse than void, disgusting in the understanding of the Goyim. And he says in verse 36, what is it, verse 24, I think it is. When I bring back my name to be regarded as Kadosh, I will do it through you. That's another study we've done on other videos, but the point is, do we just sit here doing nothing and wait till one day he's going to raise Israel up and make his name Kadosh? Or do we start making his name Kadosh instead of Halal? Kadosh, Kuf Dalet Shin. Here's this letter Kuf again. This overview, like rising up, like it's actually the shape of a mushroom. A vertical line, and then this blossoming. Sometimes the letter Kuf was drawn with a horizontal line, like the sun on the horizon, meaning way in the future. There's a message in the orthography, which is why I'm going over that. But here's the point. What is that overview? What is that Kadosh Shem? It's bringing Yahweh's name, fame, renown, reputation back to the real matter of the truth. Let's get another view of this scenery here. We've got to get a different view of what Yahweh's Shem is, because what we've inherited is lies from our ancestors. Now somebody might say, oh, you're talking against your family, your school, your church, your country. No, I'm not talking against it. I'm quoting Scripture. He says that they will say on that day in the future, we've inherited only lies, false things which are empty, which have no ability to reproduce. Genetically modified organisms that can't produce seeds. That's what we've inherited. What has seeds got to do with it? Going back to the word moed, ayin dalet. The ayin looks like an eyeball, but it also looks like a fruit with a seed in it. His moed, we're to carry his Shem, his name, and he said Yhuh, Yodeh Vav He, is his Shem Zakar, which is masculine, paternal. It plants the seed for the next generation, dor la dor. It's translated memorial name, but it actually, Zakar means masculine name. Like the family name of the paternal lineage throughout the generations. That's Yod-Heh Vav-Heh, according to Exodus 3. And he gave us the moed to perpetuate that testimony. So when we eliminate the moed, thank you, Mr. Constantine, and replace them, according to Leviticus 23, it would be getting rid of the Shabbat, the seventh day observance, and making it the first day observance. And you've made a steer out of the bull, and he can no longer propagate the generations of his DNA. When you take away the 7 festivals and give Christmas and Easter instead, or even Valentine's Day and Halloween, you've now made a eunuch out of the father, Yahuwah Zavot. Can't perpetuate his edot, dor la dor, generation after generation. That's why we're making a big deal about this. Oh, but we have Easter eggs and Christmas ornaments. They're beautiful, but you've clipped off what Yahweh said was his masculine ornamentation. I have ornamented myself. That's ayin dalet, jewels. The interesting thing is, it's the same word that means removable, to be plundered by pirates, taken away. When somebody comes in, they take the good stuff. They don't take the lousy dirt. They take the good stuff that's worth something. When Yahweh called this word ayin dalet, it means jewels, ornamentation, adornment, and booty. That thing which the thieves come in to steal away. It all fits this incredible picture. Going back to the voices, the voice of the first day of creation, separating light from dark. The voice of Pesach, I have taken you out of the house of bondage and constriction between a rock and a hard place and called you my own. The voice of the big white fence, the voice of the first beatitude, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Like offering him this big fence, like a treasure chest with everything in it. What is that first voice that might be the first of the voices of the 7 thunders? Quite simply, Moshe said, I put before you life and death. Choose life! The first voice. Yeah, but you have to keep the Sabbath day to choose life. Do you have to know the doctrines? Do you have to know the Melchizedek oath? No! Choose life! Thundering voice. That's it. The thief on the cross. Last breath. Please remember me. It's done. You will be with me in my kingdom. The voice. What's the second voice? Right inside the door. The Torah, the barbecue grill, You step inside the kingdom of the fence, the kingdom of Yahweh Eloheinu, our great, mighty champion. There's the instructions. You can't carry your stuff from outside in the darkness and death and bring it into the kingdom and party like a heathen. You got to drop your ways, throw yourself on the altar, and have it all removed, and he'll give you a new heart after his ways. Let's take another stroll.
About that new heart and that new ruach, he said that true ruach shall cause you to walk in those things.
You know, an interesting thing about that, in Jeremiah 31, he talks about putting in a heart of flesh, and he's saying, they will want to do my Torah. I will cause them to keep my instructions. And all I can say is I'm not blaming anybody, because this is all Yahweh's doing. Last I heard, after numerous conversations with family and friends, they don't find his ways interesting. They don't find his ways worth doing. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to talk about it. And they certainly are not compelled from within. So I'm not putting anybody down, but all I can say is apparently that verse hasn't come to bear yet. The prophecy isn't fulfilled.
That hasn't. Nope.
Because people don't yet love his stuff. And he said he would put his ruach, his spirit, within his people, compelling them from within to do his stuff. What stuff? I think his stuff means regard with incredible favor of insight and passion his name, his day, his moedim, and his covenant, because they want to be his people according to the terms of that covenant. Now, some people call that Hebrew roots or Judaizing. It's nothing but Yhuh! That's right, Yod-He-Vav, Yhuh. Like Yeshayahu, Yeremiyahu. The Israelites were called a term of derision by the Assyrians. Hey, a bunch of Yahoos. We still use that word. A bunch of stupid, foolish idiots going back under the law. No, it's going back under the grace of his covenant. The beautiful, benevolent, he says, I will be your champion. You will have nothing to fear, so don't fear. I'll provide everything you need, and I'll cover you against your enemies in front and in back. And really, going back under the law? No, it's going back under the terms of those promises. So the second voice is, and he gives a list at various times. In English, instructions, law, commandments, ordinances, statutes, and testimonies. It's like, oh boy, a big long list of legalese. Go back and look at the spelling of every one of those words. That's another video. Look at them in the dictionary in Hebrew. You'll get a whole different appreciation. They're not bad stuff. They're his treasure box of good stuff, which if a man walk in these ways, he will live. Nam Yahweh. End of story. Now there's people going around saying, those are the very things that were written on the Torah scroll leaning against the Ark of the Covenant. And when Yahweh says, so I scattered them amongst the nations and gave them bad laws which no man can live by, that's the Torah. No way! There's the second verse, the second voice. Hear that echo?
That got the dogs barking.
There's a voice, the verse that we read in Isaiah 34, I think it was, we read yesterday, disarranging his face, convoluted grimace. No, if you look at the word for face, pane, penun, yod, it's to lay out like bread on the table of showbread. His face is in these alphabetic letters, and in the Moedim, and in Shabbat. And if we disarrange his face with Sunday, Christmas, Easter, Halloween, whatever things, he's a convoluted, cosmic clown of distortion. Those dogs don't even like it. Listen to that. Gosh.
Caleb likes it.
What's the third voice? What I'm saying is that each voice has to synchronize. The day of creation. First voice. Let there be light, separating light from dark. The first festival, Pesach, separating his people out from the straits of Mitzrayim. the big white fence, the beatitude of blessed are the poor in spirit, those who go, gosh, I need him. And they look, okay, here it is. Like the voice of the thief on the cross, choose life. That's the first voice. The second voice, here's the instructions. Walk in these ways, because if you do, you will live. And this is the kingdom of life and light, enlightenment. He told us the instructions. He didn't keep the instructions in the dark. He kept them behind the fence so that you can only see the instructions if you choose life and turn to Yhuh, Yod-He-Vav-He. Then he'll show you his instructions. But then what do? Kaf and Lamed, those letters line up with the instructions, like a hoe and froze in the field, teach and learn. Take them to heart. That's the next step. After you hear the instructions, take them to heart. Have the seed planted within you. Where do the Christians get this idea of ask Jesus into your heart? There's not a single verse in the entire Bible that says ask Jesus into your heart. Not one verse. But the letters Mem and Nun, Mem is a womb, it's also water. We described that yesterday. The seed is his word. Have his word in your innermost being and nurture it to grow like a pregnant woman. And Yeshua is the word, John 1. There's the model of asking Yeshua into your heart. It's asking Yahweh's word to your innermost being, and it takes on a new life. And as I've said elsewhere, it's not like a woman has a baby growing and that baby becomes another person. The baby growing within that, your internal self, is you unto eternity. It's a picture of saying, this body of flesh I walk around in is just a vehicle by which growing within me is another creature, but it's me having been transformed unto eternity, and I crawl out of this earth suit like a butterfly out of a chrysalis and become this other myself, but in this other whole dimension of reality, which is after this. So the letter Zadi, representing coming back out, is like this butterfly coming out of its cocoon and rising up, spreading its wing. The letter Zadi could be seen as spreading a wing. And as we said, the letters Samek Ayin Pei is to branch out. Ayin Pei is a bird or a wing. So to branch out unto Reshin Tav, there's the whole future that he told us. Where does he say you're going to go to heaven? Where does he say there's an afterlife? Right there in the Hebrew aleph-bet. Zadi, Kuf, Reshin Tav. Look at the pictures. That's us coming back to life into a whole nother dimension of reality. Memnoon, according to how you take it to heart and nurture his word within you, that you become that creature that emerges out of the chrysalis. Somebody was telling me an incredible study that when a caterpillar walks in and forms its chrysalis around itself, everything, every bite of leaf of food, every taste of anything that went into that caterpillar to grow its body, and then when it forms a chrysalis around itself, dissolves into a slurry and reforms into the butterfly. It dissolves down, and whatever it took in is all that it has in that cocoon. Every molecule is reformed into the butterfly that comes out. Every word you hear of Yahuwah's true scripture, every letter of his voice becomes you. Everything you eat as this caterpillar makes you become the butterfly you will be forever. Leolam Va'ed. That Va'ed, there's that ayin dalet again, and it means you betcha and how. It's the voice of testimony, like a man and his witnesses, corroborating the truth of his statement. It's like the picture of the Vav with the two hays, or the Samek with the two sides of the wings. You betcha and how. The two hays, the Torah and the Ruach, validating, confirming, authorizing the voice of Yeshua, the Vav, being the same voice of the Yod, the hand that made all this be. Take its word to heart. That's the third voice. Fourth voice has to line up with the fourth day of creation. What do you make? Sun, moon, and stars. Sun to rule the day, moon to rule the night, the stars in their houses, their moedim, their seasons. Jurisdiction, principality, branching. The menorah, branches. Like I said, the word spelled Samek Ayin Pei, branching, to diversify, like a manifold. Like a candlestick. It's the beatitude, blessed are they that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they will be filled. It's the day of Yom Teruah, the blowing of trumpets. This trumpet heralding the king, the reign of a certain king, was proclaimed on Yom Teruah. When Yhuh showed up, some think he was born on Yom Teruah because the heavens ripped open and the angels singing, proclaiming, blowing trumpets. Woohoo! The king! Here he is! Yeshua, if we take his words to heart, because each voice plays off the one before it, choose life, learn his instructions, take it to heart, and like a tree grows where it's planted, he'll give you your time to be responsible with what he gave you. Here, I'm the vine, you're the branches, he said, picture of the menorah, now bear fruit. Galatians 5:22. For you who don't read the New Testament, if you look there, he says, these are the fruits of the Spirit. See if I can list them. 9 of them. Love, joy, peace, gentleness, kindness, goodness, meekness, temperance, and self-control. Is that the ones?
He actually calls that one fruit.
Fruit. One fruit of the Spirit will yield all these aspects. Like a single fruit has color, taste, aroma.
Yeah.
The point is, Psalmic represents the fourth voice of, now do the right thing. Laura Schlesinger used to say that on the radio. The end of her whole talk show. Now go do the right thing. Just do the right thing. Lines up in Daniel, he said, the wicked will do wickedly because the wicked don't understand. But the righteous will do what he say. Why? Filled with his ruach and just bearing fruit. That's the fourth voice. Now do it. Don't just believe it. Do it. Fourth voice. What's the fifth voice? Lines up with the letter ayin, lines up with fish in the sea, birds in the air. Lines up with the table of showbread. The table of showbread. Bread is lachem, which is also war, but bread is pan, like Panera bread. There's a restaurant like Panim, which means like Pan-American Games, where like all the Americas got together to have like the Olympic Games type of a thing. Pan means like across the whole face. So showbread is kind of like masks, faces, where your true self is, it lines up with the day of Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, where your true self is laid bare and put into scales. Remember what he said about Belteshazzar, Mina mini tikalu farsin. Mine, that's where memnoon, that's where that word comes from, which is to say, what's really going on within you is now laid out like the bread on the table. You're put in the scales of balance, and whatever you've been doing is going to come back around on you. This is it. We're calling the end of time for you. Any one of these could be another talk, another video. The point is, the letter ayin lines up with the beatitude, blessed are the merciful, so they shall receive mercy. Another place he said, with the measure you use, it's measured to you. Repeatedly, Yahweh says, according to a man's way, it will be returned upon his own head. So this is these scales of balance, otherwise known as mishpat, justice, balance scales, equity, pei-tav, memshin pei-tav. Pei-tav means stalemate, even, nobody taking advantage of anybody else, but Yahweh returning exactly the way you were. Very serious ramifications of this letter. The ayin looks like a fruit with a seed in it, so what you bear, Psalmic, as you do, ayin, that fruit will come back. Everything you do turns into a fruit, amplified, magnified.
And that fruit comes from one seed, and that seed has to replicate after the original.
And that seed
and if
is
it's patterned,
the Torah, what you brought into your heart to grow.
And if it's patterned after Messiah's walk, there's a lot of counterfeit seeds. GMO Christianity.
The point is, any one of these words, these sentences we're saying, could be studied out and elaborated, and it's astounding. The Kohen, Kaf He Nun, as we said, Kaf He means yes, so truly thus. Kaf Nun, absolutely, this is the pedestal, the easel. Here, this is the whiteboard that Yahweh draws on. He Nun, gladly, behold, hey look! The Kohen's job is to say, hey look, this is the truth, here it is! Yahweh's word manifest, made so we can understand it, not blah, 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 in some strange language, Latin, or who knows what, that nobody can appreciate. Make it appreciable. That's what we're trying to do. That's the fifth voice. Be aware that what you bear is going to be put into the scales of balance, and weighed and measured and come back on you. The sixth voice, the letter Pei, the mouth, Sukkot, it's the community. It's the altar of incense. He said the incense is like the prayers of the saints. Prayers come out of your mouth. Communication, remember, like Sukkot, the listening and speaking one to another. Sukkoting with him. Yhuh came down at the festival of Sukkot. Whether he was born on Yom Teruah, the first day of the 7th month, or whether he was born at the 15th day of the 7th month, Sukkot, in which case he would have been circumcised on the 22nd day, it's like the letter Tav, in which case that would be the sign of the covenant. Nobody knows. It's speculation. It's just word pictures. What did he make on day 6? Man and animals. Fellowship together on the face of the earth, walking the earth together like Caleb the dog, being your companion. The point is there's these pictures and they all fit together. So here's the 6 voices. Choose life, learn the instructions, take the matters to heart, do what he said, therefore, remember everything you do is going to be weighed and measured and you're held accountable. You can find forgiveness, but if you want forgiveness, you better forgive. Day 7, that fruit is what you're going to eat at Sukkot together. Everything you have prepared, we have enjoyed here. Everything those other folks prepared, we have all taken advantage of. I have prepared myself trying to ingest these words and putting them back on a video. I'm trying to contribute something.
Well, you're going to have to step it up.
Day 7, Shabbat. Lining up with the Ark of the Covenant, Shemini Atzeret. The Zodi in the Ark of the Covenant was Aaron's rod that budded. It's dead, boom, springs back to life. Whoa, like Yhuh, in the grave after 3 days and 3 nights. It's a picture of Ezekiel 37. So after 36, he says, I scattered you among the nations and you brought my name to empty, void, profanity. Well, we're making a correction. We're making his Shem Kadosh by doing these videos on Mountain Air 7.
Hallelujah.
And Erictology. It's everything we can do to play into the prophecy of, he says, one of these days when you guys do this, then I will step in and I will make my Shem Kadosh, which means he's going to live up to his famed reputation. You want to see the stuff of the Exodus again, where he comes in thunder and lightning and 10 plagues and all these. He said that's what he's going to do. I believe that's what he means when he says he's going to make his Shem Kadosh. He's going to play into the mythical engagement that he had with our forefathers. And he's going to do it more than what he did with them. That's what the prophecies say in the Old Testament. So I do not buy in to the concept that this is the end of the world, or the rapture, or, oh well, let's just sit and wait for the bus to pick us up and take us home. He said there's a lot of stuff going to happen, and this concept of the 7 voice is, you just sit down when I told you to sit down. That's Shin Bet. You return, that's Shin Bet. Repent, that's Shin Bet. But also rebel is Shin Bet. So it's like, gosh, what is he saying? He's saying, I believe what he's saying is, return from your rebellion, like the prodigal son.
Acts 3:21 agrees with you. He's waiting on us.
He's waiting for us. The whole time we're standing, where's that dang rapture bus? It's running late. 2,000 years, what the? He's been waiting for us, saying, what's the matter with you guys? I gave you all these promises, and what, they're not good enough for you? Hello, there ain't no Elohim, ein od zulti. Come back to what I've already given you, and then it'll work. Come back to the words of the Torah. The Torah is not empty, worthless, bad laws that you can't live by. The scroll of the Torah is good words, good laws, commandments, ordinances, statutes, and testimonies, which if a man do, he will live by them. You want to talk about it one day, Matthew Nolan? We can. The point is, let's do what he said. The promise of Shabbat is that he made it, he instituted Shabbat, he built it into the whole entire ecosystem as a way to refresh, recalibrate, rebuild, renovate, and he made it kadosh. He blessed it. He ordained it. If you do a word study on all these words I'm saying in Hebrew, you realize it's built into the fabric of the universe by design. And when Moshe said the last words out of his mouth in Deuteronomy 34, who is like you, Israel? No other people group on the face of the earth that there ever was or ever could be has an Elohim so close that he gave them his kol shavah, his voice of 7 thunders that you can count on absolutely without regret, without question. Stand on these voices. But your enemies will try to deceive you. His last words. The last words of Moses. Our enemies have deceived us by taking away the Shabbat, the 7th day, and giving us the 1st day. By taking away the Moedim and giving us Christmas and Easter. Both of which were fabricated after pagan heathen deities. Do the research. It's all over the internet. It's even in the encyclopedia. In fact, it's in Lew White's Fossilized Customs. Check that out if you dare. They took away his name 7,000 times, pert near. They took the name Yhuh and gave us Lord.
Adonai.
Or Adonai or Hashem.
Hashem.
2,300 years ago, they
Jesus.
took his name out and gave us replacements which bear no fruit. They're impotent. They castrated the Father and gave us plastic ornamentation. Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, the masculine name of the Father. The 7 thundering voices. Were they really kept silent? Or did we just not want to hear? Your choice. There's the overview of the aleph-bet, the aleph-tav and the aleph-bet. As I have planned, so shall it be. Aleph-tav. The voice that goes out of my mouth, aleph, will not return void. It'll accomplish, tav, that which I set it forth to do. That's what Yahweh said. Yeshua claimed to be the aleph-tav, the beginning and end, the first and the last. What are you going to do with it? Listen
I'm going to step it up like you have.
What's that?
I'm going to step it up like you have.
Okay. Then what he said is, let's walk together. Because Shemanu Elohim Amkam. It says they're going to grab hold of one Jew and say, we have heard that God is with you, so let us walk together. We have heard that God is with you. Shemanu Elohim Amkam. Then another way to read that. Shemanu is we listen, we shema. Elohim, Yahweh our Elohim. Amkam means together. We shema Elohim together, so let's walk together. Shemanu Elohim Amkam. Might be a little tripping over stuff at first and getting tangled because we've inherited so many lies, but the vista that he's put before us is pretty clear if we'll just...
As far as the eye can see.
Open our eyes, open our ears. Yahweh, open the eyes of my understanding. That's in the Psalms,
Hallelujah.
I think it is. Open the eyes of my understanding.
That I may see the wonders of your Torah.
Well, that's another verse, but sure, that still fits. Paleot, wonders of the Torah. Shalom.
All right, Eric, thanks a lot. It's kind of sad that you're going to be leaving today and we're going to have to wait a whole year for Sukkot again. This is, I don't know, it's just, it grips you with sadness when I just counting the days like, oh crap, only 3 more days. Oh, dude, 2 days. It's just, now we're having to say goodbye here pretty soon. But so long until next time, my brother. Love you.